conspiracy. So, wait, what?
Thinking of everything is the result of nuclear radiation. Who is Pearl's mother? What is the Krabby Patty's secret formula? These are by far the three biggest questions in the show SpongeBob SquarePants. And today I'm going to be answering all three of them and more with just one theory. Get ready for the darkest SpongeBob conspiracy you'll ever see. This is the evolution theory.
Sorry, it's a little laggy.
We're back with another SpongeBob conspiracy. Guess I'm the SpongeBob guy now. That's all I make. You guys sure love these SpongeBob theories.
Alex Bale out with another video. Makers of SpongeBob interfere, put in their own message. Brainwash you people. William says the doctor, and he's not really a doctor. He's just trying to infiltrate that little round thing on his head there. Oh my God! Thank God for Alex. Look at that. He's helping me prove my point. You know what? That is awesome.
Maybe some of you love them a little too much. You know, I got other videos, right? I make films and stuff too. Anyone want to watch those? Anyway, by far the most popular SpongeBob theory out there is the Bikini Atoll nuclear radiation theory. It's pretty simple. It's been confirmed that Bikini Bottom is actually beneath a real-life place called Bikini Atoll. From 1946 to 1958, the United States did nuclear tests there, devastating the area, leaving it radioactive even to this day. The theory states that the reason why the citizens of Bikini Bottom can talk and form advanced societies is because of mutations caused by these nuclear tests. And that's about the whole theory. Even though there's tons and tons of videos about it, none of them actually go in depth with it or really look through the show for evidence. But y'all know that if Alex Bale is making a theory on it, then it's not going to be some baby surface level analysis. I will watch every single episode of SpongeBob. I will read every page of the goddamn Wikipedia. If I'm making a theory on it, then you guys know it's gonna be good. And once I really started looking into this theory, I realized that there is so much more here than anyone thinks. Get ready, because today we're going to be solving the biggest mysteries in the history of SpongeBob SquarePants and changing the way you look at the entire show. So without further ado, let's begin the theory. In order to find out whether the Bikini Atoll theory is true, we first have to determine whether fish talking and being so intelligent is unique to Bikini Bottom, or if that's just the way the SpongeBob universe works. You know, it could just be that all animals in this world are able to talk, and that's completely normal because at the end of the day, SpongeBob is still just a cartoon. Well, if we take a look at Season 10, Episode 10, Feral Friends, we get a bit of a hint about how the SpongeBob world works. In this episode, a green moon appears and transforms all the characters into less cartoony, real-life versions of themselves.
SpongeBob? Patrick?
Just like in real life, they can't talk and end up trying to eat each other. The French narrator is watching all of this unfold, and he says this very important line.
I have been monitoring the behavior of the green moon all day. It is called Neptune's moon. Every 100 years, it de-evolves everyone in Bikini Bottom into primal fish.
Every 100 years, it de-evolves everyone in Bikini Bottom into primal fish. So this implies that the characters in Bikini Bottom are more evolved and were once like these primal fish. But this doesn't prove that the evolution only exists in Bikini Bottom. It could still be a worldwide phenomenon. Remember that bonus DVD clip I found in my television theory? It was about humans studying fish in Bikini Bottom because of their intelligence.
Land-loving scientists have tried to learn the secrets of intelligence. Their study has led them to the sea, where the citizens of one undersea colony demonstrated a genius so enormous, the scientists felt compelled to record their actions for use in teaching mankind how to live better.
This makes it sound an awful lot like the fish in Bikini Bottom actually are uniquely evolved, and it's not some worldwide phase. Then, in the SpongeBob 20-year anniversary special, SpongeBob's Big Birthday Blowout, we get a major piece of evidence for this theory. SpongeBob and Patrick take a tour of the surface world and eventually go to a fish store and see some very realistic, less evolved fish.
What kind of monsters would want to keep fish folk in jail like this? beautiful.
They can't talk back to Spongebob and Patrick, and they're actually able to swim freely through the water instead of being affected by gravity. They are clearly showing us that both evolved and primitive fish exist in this universe at the same time. Now, sometimes we've seen bikini bottom characters represented as realistic fish like this, but only when they're out of water, never while they're still in water like these fish. We even see this again in the beginning of the third SpongeBob movie, Sponge on the Run. The movie opens with a coral reef full of these realistic primal fish, but eventually we get to Bikini Bottom where the more evolved fish live. So there you go, direct proof that the citizens of Bikini Bottom are uniquely evolved. This is a very deliberate world-building choice for the creators to make. So I guess that kind of confirms the Bikini Atoll theory. Theory confirmed! We did it! Woo! Well, let's hold on for a second. As much as I'd love to call this theory complete, there's actually one major piece of evidence that gives me some resistance. Something I've never seen anyone else bring up when talking about this theory. Prehistoric Bikini Bottom. We've seen episodes like UGG or SB-129 that show Bikini Bottom millions of years in the past, but we still see evolved versions of SpongeBob and Patrick. Sure, they may not be super intelligent or advanced, but they're still clearly way more evolved than the primitive, realistic versions we see in Feral Friends or in the fish store. So, how are we seeing these evolutions millions of years before the Bikini Atoll tests? Well, unfortunately, I think the only conclusion is that the Bikini Atoll theory just isn't true. I mean, clearly something has caused Bikini Bottom citizens to be uniquely evolved. There's no denying that. But whatever caused it took place millions of years ago. It couldn't have been the Bikini Atoll nuclear tests. Then, what really caused the evolution?
Yeah.
In the entire show, the only thing we've seen that directly affects the evolution of characters is the Green Moon and Feral Friends. Except the French narrator specifically calls it Neptune's moon.
It is called Neptune's moon.
Named after the ruler of the seven seas, King Neptune. King Neptune is a character who's been around since the beginning of the sea. He's a character who the Bikini Bottom citizens view as their god, and he's a character who has the ability to change fish into other forms.
What the?
King Neptune used his magic to turn the fish of the sea into more evolved subjects for him to rule over. He's the one who's been behind it all this time. Now, I could spend this entire video talking about King Neptune and his weird continuity and contradictions in the show, but I'll save that for another theory. What I'd much rather talk about are the implications of having evolved and primitive fish coexisting in the sea. Now, we know that this evolution isn't specific to just Bikini Bottom. We've seen different cities and places far across the ocean that still have talking fish, which makes sense because the marine life in Bikini Bottom has evolved to resemble humans, so it's no surprise that just like humans, they've expanded beyond Bikini Bottom and colonized other areas of the sea. But now, I have an interesting question for you. What is the relationship between evolved fish and primitive unevolved fish? Well, they probably just peacefully coexist in the sea without bothering each other. You know, just like real-life humans and animals. Wait a second.
The war.
My name.
In season 3, episode 10, the Krusty Krab training video, there is this hilarious, absurd moment when they're talking about Mr. Krabs.
After the war, Krabs stayed secluded in a deep depression that seemed endless.
Like, what war happened in Bikini Bottom? They just tell us this and then completely drop it. But with this new context, is it possible that Krabs fought in a war against these primitive, wild fish of the sea? I mean, let's remember in Feral Friends, some of those de-evolved fish were massive compared to the evolved fish, and they immediately started attacking each other.
The battle for the survival of the fittest rages on in the animal kingdom.
So yeah, in order for the Bikini Bottom citizens to survive and expand, they would probably break into some kind of war. And from the sounds of it, this war must have been pretty brutal to put Mr. Krabs into such a deep depression. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Is there actually any evidence that proves the war Mr. Krabs fought in specifically this evolutionary war? Well, through the few flashbacks we get, we know that Mr. Krabs served in the Navy. And yes, they were sailing ships on an ocean, even though they're already underwater. This is actually a real phenomenon where certain parts of the sea can have a higher level of salinity, and it looks like an underwater ocean. Shout out Miss Parks, my high school marine biology teacher. We also know from maps of Bikini Bottom that the town is surrounded by this underwater ocean. So that places Mr. Krabs' war outside of Bikini Bottom, where this evolutionary war would have to take place. Then if we take a look at Mr. Krabs' home, we see it is full of memorabilia from his past days in the Navy. But hidden within here is something that will absolutely blow your mind and answer one of the biggest questions in the show. Hanging there on his wall is a picture of a massive whale next to a ship. You don't think that could be... No, it can't be. Pearl's mother? Pearl is Mr. Krabs' whale daughter. The show never really explains how a crab can be the father of a whale, but most people just assume she was adopted. People have been speculating about who Pearl's biological mother is for years, and I think we finally just found our answer. We see 2 photos of this whale on a ship in Season 3, Episode 9, just 1 episode before we find out Mr. Krabs fought in a war. Since this is among all of Mr. Krabs' Navy stuff, I think we can assume that this is something he encountered, and not just some random picture of a whale on a ship above the ocean. The whale is massive compared to the ship. We've seen adult whales in Bikini Bottom before, but they are nothing compared to the size of this whale. This has a much closer resemblance to Pearl when she de-evolved in feral friends and became massive. So this has to be an unevolved primitive whale, and the picture clearly shows them fighting. Not only does this prove that there was a war between evolved and primitive fish, but Mr. Krabs definitely fought in it. But this also implies something very dark. Mr. Krabs killed Pearl's mother. The only direct reference we get in the show to Pearl's mother is one of Mr. Krabs' many sayings, Mother of Pearl.
Mother of Pearl! Mother of Pearl! Holy Mother of Pearl!
He uses it in places something like Holy Crap or Dear God, only saying it when something truly shocking or terrible happens, because he knows the terrible thing that happened